All right, today we're going to talk about 9.5 circle graphs. Go ahead and write this down. A circle graph displays data as sections of a circle. The main thing I want you to take away from this slide here is circles will always equal 360 degrees. Okay, so no matter what, a circle should always equal that. Here you can see a graph. It's a circle graph that displays data, and it tells us about the Milton family budget. Okay, so there's a few questions that I want us to go over, and then we'll see what other information you guys can take away from this graph. But let's look at number one. You should probably very easily be able to tell, what did they spend most of their money on? They spent it on food. I sadly will say that's probably true in my family also. We spend a ton of money on food. What percent of their budget did they spend on clothes? 15%. Always make sure that you tell me 15%, okay? So who could tell me something else that you can gather just by looking at this circle graph? What else can we figure out about their family budget? Okay, they spent 25% on rent. What else can we tell? They spent what? Say again? Okay, they did not put very much money in savings. If you look right here, it says only 6% of their money went into savings. So they're not saving a whole lot, okay? You can tell also they spent more on rent than they did on clothes, okay? So when you look at a circle graph, it's a pretty easy way to get some information that you can write down, okay? This is a formula. We started talking about this yesterday. P times of equals is. For this, we're going to be able to use it also while we're talking about circle graphs, okay? P is always going to be the percent, but you must change it to a decimal. And of, you're never going to have to guess what the of is. The total of a circle graph every single time will always be 360 degrees. One thing I want you to notice right here, that little degrees. It's a tiny circle. It looks like it's floating in the air, okay? So be careful, because a lot of times people will they'll write it real sloppy, and they say, oh yeah, 360 degrees, but that doesn't necessarily look like a degrees right there. I might think that means 3,600, okay? So be careful, make sure your degrees looks tiny, nice and neat. Okay, here we go, number one. It says find the angle measure that corresponds to the percent of a circle. So on that slide that we just had a second ago, we have a special formula that we're going to use every single time. What was that formula that we use? P times of equals is. So we're going to go ahead and write that down for the very first problem. P times of equals is. The first thing you have to do with your percent is change it to a decimal. What would 90% be as a decimal? 0.9. Good job. The of every single time. What's the total amount of degrees in a circle? 360. 360. Now, once again, you want to put the units with that, so it's going to be 360 degrees. Put that into your calculator to find out what 0.9 of 360 degrees would be.
Can I write down the degree sign?
You do want to write the degrees sign down. So what would it be, guys? 324 degrees. So that tells you that 90%, the angle that corresponds with that would be 324 degrees. Number two, 12% of a circle corresponds with a specific angle measure. What is my formula I'm going to use?
P times of.
Every time. P times of equals is, which is the same formula we were using yesterday. What is 12% changed to a decimal? 0.12. What's my of? 360 degrees, because that is the total amount of degrees that are in a circle. What is 0.12 times 360 degrees?
43.2 degrees.
43.2 degrees. Thank you for telling me degrees. I want you to do problem C on your own. Final one. Always start with what?
P times of equals is.
P times of equals is. What's my P?
0.4.
0.4 times 360 degrees equals? How many of you guys got 144 degrees? Excellent job. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right, number 2 says, the table shows the results of a survey that asked students how many siblings they had. Find the angles that you would display in a circle graph. So how many of you would say that you are in the category that you have no siblings? Okay, there's a couple of you. How many of you have one sibling? Anybody have two siblings? Who has three or more siblings? All right, so I don't have three or more on this one, but we're just going to kind of go with this chart for right now. So you can see right there, there's a circle graph that displays the information. There's also a different kind of graph that kind of shows the information inside of a table. But now what we're trying to do is find the angles, okay? So we know our answer is going to come out with a degree because whenever we're trying to find angles, it's going to be a degree. So let's go ahead and just start off with a formula that we've kind of done before. P times of equals is. For this one right here, my first category, none, what is my percent? 15%. Let's change that to a decimal, and what do we get? 0.15 or 0.15. Multiply it times the total amount of degrees in a circle, which is 360 degrees. Plug that into your calculator to see what is 0.15 times 360 degrees. 54 degrees. Once again, thanks for putting the units next to it, okay? Now let's go on to the next one. If you have one sibling, what is our percent? 30%. Change it to a decimal. 0.30 or 0.3, either one. Multiply it times. Every single time you'll multiply it times the total, which is 360. And how many degrees is that? 108 degrees. Let's go on to the final one. Go ahead and write it down for me. What did you guys get?
198 degrees.
Tell me what my step is. 0.55 times 360. And what'd you get? 198 degrees. Now, I want you to go ahead and add up these three things right here. If it is a full circle, how many degrees should that add up to, guys? It should add up to 360. So plug that in your calculator and see what you get.
Yeah, 360.
360 degrees.
Did it equal 360 for everyone? All right, so that means you got it correct. I want you to box this in because this is your answer. And that can help me to easily find the degrees for all of those right there, okay? Every time you want to double check, make sure it adds up to 360 degrees, and then you know you've done it correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next one, number 3. Number 3, find the angles you would display in a circle graph. So we're going to use the same formula that we used before. What is the formula?
P times of equals is.
P times of equals is. First one, Addison. What's my P?
Oh, 30.
Okay, not 30.
0.3.
0.3. You got to change it to a decimal. Multiply it times what?
36.
360 degrees. And what do you get? Not 108%.
Oh, 108 degrees.
108 degrees. Good job. Ashley, next one. What about the retail store? Tell me what to write.
0.45 times 360.
Answer?
160
162
degrees.
degrees. Excellent job. Who wants to do the last one? All right, Sherelle, go ahead.
0.25 times 360 degrees.
90 degrees. Excellent job. Okay, now I want you guys to add up 108 plus 162 plus 90. When you add all those angles up, what do you get? 360. As long as you added it up and it got 360, you know you did it correctly. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, that's the main things that you need to know about our circle graph.